Welcome to the Western New York Athletics.com High School Sports Roundup, hosted by Frank Wolf and Francis Boeck. High School Sports Roundup is sponsored by Kevin's Catering, 2692 Elmwood Avenue in Kenmore, the premier custom catering company in Buffalo. Call 874-4464 or check out kevinscatering.com. Cipriano Realtors and Quitchoff, 58 Main Street in Tonawanda at 692-9464. Paul Wolf Insurance Agency, 2686 Elmwood Avenue in Kenmore. For auto, home, business, or life insurance, call the Wolf at 835-9653. CSA Prep Star Tom Rapizzi, National Scouting Coordinator. Contact Tom at 213-509-2935. St. Joe's Collegiate Institute, St. Francis High School, and Gugino Insurance Agency, 5707 Main Street in Williamsville. Home auto, boat, motorcycle, snowmobiles, Paul Gugino writes it all. Call 633-1313.
And welcome to the WNY Athletics.com High School Weekly Roundup. I'm Francis Boeck with Frank Wolf. We have a full show for you here tonight. We have Greg Dolan and his coach Gabe Michael in studio. We also have Casey Kelly of St. Joe's and Charlie Comerford. We recorded an interview with him. You'll be hearing that towards the end of the show. He's going to talk about his new plans with a brand new football program at Maritime Charter and Health Sciences.
Yeah, I mean, it's another action-packed show. I had a couple opportunities to get to Northtown Center. I talked to Coach Bob Rosen and an assistant coach out at Sweet Home, Brian Turner, and select players, Brett Sardina, who just set a single season scoring record out there in goals with 23 the other night. So we do have a great show lined up. Thank you for those that tuned in last week. We appreciate it, but we really need you to subscribe to our YouTube page so we can get our subscriptions up. There's a lot we want to do, a lot more we want to do. We want to come out to your high school games and do more live events, live work, post-game press conference, things of that nature. Some of you may have seen what we did at West Seneca West just a couple of weeks ago after their big win over Lancaster. We want to do more of that, but we need you to get out there and subscribe to us on YouTube. Continue following us on Twitter at WNY Athletics. Yeah, and we're doing as much as we can for the high school students and athletes, but as much as we do, we need you guys to help us too, because without your help, this is really all for naught. So thank you to those who have been very supportive of us, but if you can't, keep telling your friends and your parents about us, follow us along, and we try to do the best we can with what we have to work with. So thank you very much for your continued support, and of course to all of our advertisers, we're nothing without you.
Yeah, I think you're going to be in for a big show today, so tune in to all of our segments. We have girls hockey, boys hockey, a little bit of lacrosse. We have wrestling with Matt O'Rourke. He'll be on talking about duels this past weekend and the first ever girls rankings. So tune in, make sure you watch that. And we're back to Western New York Athletics High School Weekly Roundup. This is the girls basketball segment. A few notes from Section 6 and Monsignor Martin this week. On Tuesday night, Lockport defeated Kenmore West 45-34 in a Niagara Frontier League matchup. It was a little family rivalry as Lockport head coach Joe Catalano faced his uncle and father of Kenmore West. His father, Joe, is the coach of the JV team at West, and his nephew Paul is an assistant coach for the Blue Devils. So big win for the junior there. OP remains undefeated with a 71-53 win over Lancaster. In Monsignor Martin, Cardinal O'Hara took down New York State number 3 ranked Penfield of Section 5, 61-58, a big win for the Hawks. Amherst defeated Starpoint 79-38. Freshman Ella Wanzer had 21 points. Of course, her older sister is now at Niagara. Monday, Clarence beat West Seneca West 72-24. Ella Rose Eckert led the way with 21 points and 16 rebounds. And also on Monday, Lena Calasimi and Amari DeBerry each had 15 points as Williamsville South took down Sweet Home 80-21. This was the WNY Athletics High School Roundup Girls Basketball segment. Join us back for more.
There are good hands and great hands. Hi, I'm Paul Wolf. We all know that good hands usually turn into losers. When it comes to all your insurance needs, our hands are unbeatable.
Call the Wolf at 835-9653 today.
And we're back to Western New York Athletics High School Sports Weekly. This is the girls hockey segment. On Tuesday, the girls finished the regular season, and we now have standings for both the sectional and federation playoffs. For those who don't know, the girls, they play 2 sets of playoffs. They have the sectionals with all the public schools, and then they send a representative to the state final. And then after that, they come back and have playoffs with Monsignor Martin to crown a girls' federation champion. The Flop won the number 1 seed in both sectional and federation playoffs with 41.5 points. Monsignor Martin had a chance to clinch that first spot on Tuesday, but they lost in regulation to the Cash, so they end up in second place. Behind them is the Cash, who comes into the playoffs, winning their last 4 games. Probably the hottest team in the league. They had a 3-2 win over the Flop on Monday, and they followed that up with the 1-0 win over Monsignor Martin on Tuesday. Their junior Emma Fasto finishes the regular season as the league's top scorer with 19 goals and 31 points. She is now 7th all-time in league points, career points. Flop goalie Maggie Spice has had a 1.47 goals against average this season, and Monsignor Martin goalie Grace Harrington had a 93.5 save percentage. Monday night, as I talked about earlier, Monsignor Martin beat Williamsville 2-1. Monsignor Martin ends second place in the girls' Fed, and they have about 2 weeks off before the Fed playoffs begin on February 13th. I caught up with them after the win. Girls, big win today over Williamsville, and you're still in contention for the top seed in the girls' Fed playoffs. Just talk about what it's like to still be in contention for it.
Definitely all of our hard work up to this point in the season has led us to it, and now it's all in our control. It's not like if someone loses, we're in first. It's all if we win, we clinch. So it's just all of our hard work. It will finally pay off.
Every shift we work super hard and we come together when it's in the big games. So
you guys have been through the gauntlet, 5 games in the past 7 days. What's been the key to getting through that whole stretch?
Just kind of every single time going out there and having fun with your teammates and knowing at the end it's just a game, win or lose. You're just kind of making the most of it because these moments will only happen for a few times. So just going out there and having fun and always working hard.
yeah, when we get tired, I think we do a great job of picking each other up to bring that energy back to the bench.
Oh, what is it like to play in a league where the team at the bottom of the standings can be the team at the top at any night?
It's definitely the most competitive league that I've personally played in since freshman year. Everyone is up there. I mean, even from Hughes up until Flop in Williamsville, everyone is even. Everyone has contenders, and it's just you have to have the will and the grit to fight until the last minute on the clock.
You can never take a shift off. You always have to keep going.
So there's 7 teams in this league, and there's only 1 team made up of all private schools. Do you guys ever feel like it's your team against them, so to speak, when you match up against Section 16?
No, you had the reaction.
Not really. Personally, I love our team, and I don't really see it as that until you pointed it out. But I don't know. I think we're just one big family, to put it like that, and I don't see us really being from different schools. It's we're all one.
Tonight was their senior night. Did you guys know that heading in? Did it give you extra motivation at all?
Yeah, it gives us more motivation to win.
Yeah. Just come out there and go and play hard. I mean, you only have a couple moments to make them all count.
You only have a few weeks off before the playoffs. What does this team need to work on before the Federation playoffs start?
I'm going to say our shooting. And, shooting, pinching from the defense.
And probably from the forwards, just always looking for the defense and knowing if we're in tight games and tight situations, working hard down low so we don't cough up the puck and kind of cause an opportunity for the other team.
And talk a little more. Like, it's a little quiet at times, so yeah.
Don't let the wide range of the standings fool you. On any given night, the team at the bottom of the standings can beat the team at the top of the standings. That's something that Williamsville will keep in mind for Thursday night's quarterfinal game against Hughes. I also caught up with them Monday night after their loss to Monsignor Martin. So girls, this league is the most competitive it's been in probably years. What's it like to go on the ice every night knowing that the team at the bottom of the standings can beat the team at the top at any given night?
Well, we know that every team is tough and we have to work hard no matter who it is. It doesn't really matter. Top team, lowest team, we have to come out and work hard.
Yeah, definitely. This league is definitely more competitive, as you said. And every game we come out knowing that we have to work our hardest, because last year we did kind of breeze over the league, but we're not the same team this year, and we just have neither is any of the other teams. So.
All right. I think like they summed up pretty well. Each night we don't know what to expect, so got to give it our best effort. No days off. So.
You guys are still in contention for a first-round bye in the sectional playoffs. You don't completely control your own destiny, but what's going to be the key tomorrow to doing what you can to get that spot?
I think not take this team for granted. In the last half of the season, they've really picked it up, so we need to watch out for their good players and work battle in the corners.
We need to get pucks in deep, get some shots and rebounds. They always come out hard, start to finish, so we got to play the whole game.
Yeah, knowing that we beat this team before, we can't come in with that attitude. We need to come in with, it's a new game, new day. They're going to come out with, I want to win, so, yeah.
Overall, how has your season gone?
In my opinion, I think we've had some better seasons, but last year we were undefeated and we lost in playoffs, so it could go either way.
I think we're still a strong team. We have strong players, like individually, but I think we've been a little bit more developed over the past years, but I don't think that's stopping us, especially in the playoffs. I think we'll be able to pick it up, and we'll know when it's like ready to go time. So.
Yeah, I think that we have a different dynamic this year, but I think mid-season we've had a lot of injuries, a lot of people out with some like long-term illnesses, mono and stuff like that. So today we didn't have our top 4D, and we were missing our second and third line. So I think that stopped us a little bit, but hopefully for the playoffs we can have that back. So.
How do you still carry the weight of last year's season, the way it ended? I mean, you guys were undefeated, and then you faced a very tough team in the first round and got bounced. I mean, does that still stick with you? Is there a lot of unproven business left to take care of?
Yeah, I think that a lot of the players on the other teams, they're our friends, so there's a lot of rivalry there, and definitely they bring it up all the time, and it sucks. So this year it's like we said, the league's even. A game can go any way, so if we give that effort in playoffs, we're hoping to make a good run this year.
Yeah, I think, well, I got a lot of thoughts going on right now.
I think that that game against Kenmore in the sectional semifinal game, I think it was, we came in thinking that we beat this team multiple times. We could beat anyone. We were undefeated, that we come off a bye, and we realized that anything can happen. And I think definitely this season we realized that, and experiencing loss this seasons, we've noticed that as well too. So we've built off of that and realized that hard work is going to come with us to give us a win.
Back to WNYathletics.com, High School Sports Roundup. This is Frank Wolf, and my guest this segment is Casey Kelly, a 2019 grad from St. Joe's. He's currently a junior, getting ready to start his lacrosse season. We're just a couple months away, and Casey's been very active since hanging up his football cleats. He's been down to Richmond, Virginia. He's been in Jacksonville, Florida. He's been in, where else have you been?
I went to Duke this past weekend, so that was pretty cool experience. It's Durham, North Carolina, so yeah.
So did you get to meet Coach K at all?
No, I did not meet Coach K, but we went to the Duke Virginia basketball game.
Nice.
So that was really cool. Yeah.
Cool. So was that your first time in Cameron?
Yes, that was first time in Cameron. Yes.
Pretty exciting. What was the fans
Really
like? What was the experience?
Oh, it was the loudest I've ever. Literally, like when they call them the Cameron Crazies, they're called the Cameron Crazies. It was nuts.
When you were hearing the reaction of the crowd, and were you starting to think that, you know what, maybe I should have picked up a basketball sooner?
Yeah, I thought about that when I heard them, and then I'd look at the guys, and they're all 7 feet tall, and I'm like, maybe that won't do it for me. So
that's all right. Well, Casey, obviously, just before we start talking about lacrosse, I'm a member of the Connolly Cup committee, and we saw quite a bit of film, and we saw you up close, and you were in the discussion for at least the final 15 for Connolly Cup. You had a great season, put up some good numbers. Just talk about getting ready for. Just talk about the past season with the Marauders. Obviously, you guys didn't have a lot of success in terms of wins and losses. A couple rough games with Canisius, a lot of injuries on your team, but assess the football season, if you would.
Definitely everyone came together more than the past. It was Coach Landry's second year, so we kind of had things under grasp in the off season. We kind of figured everything out, and we worked much harder. Like, we've already started football workouts like 2 months ago. So, I mean, we're just striving to be. We want to be on the top. We want to win. Like, that's all we want to do. And last year we lost in the championship, but I mean, we worked to get there. We haven't. I mean, St. Joe's hasn't been there since. I think my brother was there. It was the last time they were there, and it was just really cool. Everyone got to play in the Ralph again. That was pretty cool, and everyone just enjoyed the experience. But everyone obviously wished we came out with a W, but
you guys are already back working now. How does that work when you're playing two sports like you are, football and lacrosse, and you've got all these commitments? Just how do you balance the off-season workouts? How do you know, okay, it's Tuesday, so now I'll work on this for lacrosse? Are there workouts that you can do that will help you on both sports, and are there workouts that you can do that necessarily won't help you on the football field, but it's going to do wonders for you on the lacrosse field?
Yeah, I go to John Offer on a sports performance over on Northtown Center, so I go there 3 times a week, and he gets you ready for everything. I mean, speed, you need that in everything you do, and agility, so we do that. And then we have Buffalo Impact is now with St. Joe's, so we got that going for over there. So okay, Casey, you play midfield and lacrosse, quarterback on the football field. Talk about the difference in positions and the mentality and all that sort of thing. Yeah, you see as a midfielder, you're running the whole field, so you see everything that goes on. And with quarterback, you have to know what's going on. Like, you have to have high IQ about what's going to happen and what might not happen. And like lacrosse field, as you're running down the field, you can see like what the defense is about to do, whether they're about to come at you or whether they're about to play off and you're gonna have to shoot the ball. So you really just have to. It correlates pretty well for being a quarterback because you read the defense and you read the defense when you're doing a fast break in lacrosse and like just setting up the offense because you kind of gotta know where the second slide is so you can feed the guy who's open for the assist. So yeah, it kind of correlates pretty well.
So obviously you have different workouts, maybe to correlate with the different positions you play.
Yeah.
Is anyone more demanding? Obviously quarterback. We don't need to. Living in Western New York, we know how important the quarterback position is, but how important is the midfield position to the lacrosse team?
Definitely, it's definitely I wouldn't say most important position on the field, but it's definitely high demanding because they ask you to. It's the only position where you have to play offense and defense. So you gotta know what the defense is doing. Also, you gotta know what the offense is doing, and you have to. The midfielders are kind of like the captains of it all. They gotta communicate with everyone and understand everyone's position.
How long have you been playing lacrosse for?
I've been playing since I was in 2nd grade. Yeah, I've been playing for a while.
Well, before we went on, you told me that you were down in York, Pennsylvania, and it's down the Mid-Atlantic. Lacrosse is like second nature down there.
That's where I picked it up. Yeah.
And the Rochester area is pretty big with lacrosse. You play with a team in the Rochester area. Just talk about that.
Yes, sir. Well, last year I did not really play that much summer ball besides just that Rochester thing, but that was pretty cool. And then, I mean, just like getting to know kids like from around the area and like understand. Like I play like the kids that I played with like during the season, so it's kind of cool like seeing them in the handshake line. Like, oh, what's up, man? Like, how you doing? And then it's just a cool experience meeting new people, having friends, you know, from other counties and from like 2 hours away from you. Never, like I've had a couple kids from Binghamton. I never thought I'd really meet a kid from Binghamton, but there I am.
Is the camaraderie different between the football locker room and the lacrosse locker room? Is it the same? Generally the same.
Yeah, I'd say generally the same. Yeah, everyone's tight knit. Everyone loves each other. We've been texting in lacrosse group chat for like 3 months now. It's just like we're really like we can't wait for the season to start like March 1st. Like let's go, like get here fast.
You talk about the season. I believe it begins early April. You guys are going to go down to Virginia.
Yeah.
Play. I don't know if those are powerhouse teams.
Yeah, we play. Yeah, they're very good. We play Collegiate and Salesianum. Salesianum's in Philly area, I'm pretty sure. So we play them first or second, I don't know, but it makes sense first. But so we those Salesianum was top 20 in the state in the country last year, and then Collegiate is one of the top in Virginia. So they're both very, very good teams. We played Salesianum last year, so.
And the season really doesn't get any easier when you come home. You play a out-of-conference or non-league game, if you will, against Niagara-Wheatfield, but then you're right into that Monsignor Martin schedule with Timon, Canisius, Franny's.
Yeah.
You guys have won the league championship the last 2 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, sir.
You got C.J. Goss coming back, who's already committed to Canisius, and is it Trevor Folsom?
Trevor Folsom's also going to Canisius. Yeah.
Also committed to Canisius.
Yes, sir.
Now, you went down to Florida with another player, a sophomore,
Sam
I believe?
Latour, yeah, Sam Latour.
Okay, Sam, is he he's not a sophomore.
Sam is my age, so he's a junior right now.
There was a sophomore you went down there with. His name escapes me.
Sophomore.
Hunter?
No, he didn't come down, but yes, Hunter Brugge, yeah, he's very good.
Okay.
Very good, yeah.
Is he a new addition to the varsity team?
Well, no, he played last year. He was on our midi line. It was me, him, and Lally, yeah, Jack Lally. Yeah, Lally. Yeah. Oh wow, it's only been a year since he left. But yeah, so me, him.
He's
and
doing
Lally,
all right down at Ohio State.
Yeah, he's loving it. I text him all the time. He loves it. That was when we were at Duke. They played Ohio State in a scrimmage for lacrosse, and I was like, Duke just beat Ohio State. Like, what's up, man? But yeah, Hunter. He's very good. But he played. He started freshman year. He's from Lancaster.
So you lost some players like Jack Lally. Do you guys have enough to keep that streak alive? Would you expect yourselves to be back in that league championship, at least fighting for it?
Yes, sir, definitely. I expect us to be exactly where we left off last year.
Talk about the differences between Coach Hudecki lacrosse and Coach Landry football. Is there stark differences between the two?
Yeah, there's a little bit different. Coach Landry's a little more stern than Hudecki. I talked to Hudecki a lot, and he's
a West Virginia guy, isn't he?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, he went to West Virginia.
Landry's a Notre Dame guy.
Yeah. So, yeah, we got that going. And then
they look a lot different. I mean, Coach Pete looks like a West Virginia guy. Landry looks like a Notre Dame guy. But they get the most out of you.
Yeah, they definitely. I have really close relationships with both of them. But, yeah, Landry's a little bit. Hudecki's more of he makes jokes like a lot, like all the time. I'll make jokes all the time. And Landry demands like the goodness out of you. He wants the greatness to come out of you. Obviously, Hudecki wants that too, but he's a little more smooth with it. Just like
they just have different ways of getting it out of you.
They have different, exactly. They have different ways of getting what they want out of you through you. Yeah.
Do both ways work for you personally?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, do they work with? There's guys on the football team that play different sports and different coaches. I'm just wondering if Hudecki's style works as well as Landry's style, since they're so different.
Yes, sir. Well, Hudecki, he coaches 3 sports. He coaches South Park basketball, and I think he does he does something else too. I forget what it is, but yeah. So Hudecki, he really gets to know the kids and like understands what it takes. And Landry, he's all the time around football. He understands what needs to happen for us to succeed, and he knows how we need to succeed.
Because he's been there.
Yeah, exactly. He's been there. He knows what he's doing and everything like that.
You've had a lot of success individually for yourself on the football field, and you're doing really well on the lacrosse side of things as well. at some point, and you were just at Duke, and did I hear you right? You talked to them about lacrosse and football?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. I talked to both the OC and quarterback coach at Duke for football, and then I talked to all the coaches for lacrosse. They said I could do both there if they just need to come up and watch me throw for football, which is a little private workout, and then lacrosse just needs the first 4 highlight tapes because the Duke coach, the midfielders coach and defense coach saw me play in Richmond.
Okay.
That's where he first saw me.
That was a coach's tournament, so to speak, wasn't it? There was coaches from all over there?
There was coaches from all over the country there. But yeah, he saw me play in Richmond, and he really liked me, and the other coaches just need to see me play.
But at Duke, they told you flat out, if you came here, we wouldn't say you're football, all football.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You can do both.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
But you have there's a legacy here, right? The Kelly name and all that stuff. Everyone, we think of Buffalo and Kelly, the first thing you think is Uncle Jim.
Yep.
For all the right reasons.
Yes, sir.
Is there any pressure to go down that road? We know what you can do on the football field. A lot of people don't know how good you are in lacrosse. Obviously, you've been on 2 championship teams, and you're getting a lot of looks from around the country in prime lacrosse areas, big prime lacrosse hubs, if you will, like Richmond, down in the Mid-Atlantic. I mean, if lacrosse is your calling, are you all in there, or do you want to see yourself at the next level playing football? Does it matter? Does there one you favor over the other?
Well, I would definitely feel it out. If I were to go to Duke and play both, I would definitely feel it out, and I would figure out which one I would want to spend the rest of my life doing or helping out with, and I would pretty much, and then after that, I'd devote it to whatever sport that is.
Have you been in touch with any of the local universities, colleges, if you will, for both sports as well?
Yeah, I talked to Albany coach yesterday. They also said I could play both, so I'm going down there to visit pretty soon.
Nice.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And grades are doing.
Yes, sir. Grades
well in the classroom as well.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Well, Casey, we really appreciate you coming on today. I know you're pressed for time. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the lacrosse field. You're going to be down in Virginia in just a couple of months. Then you'll be back up with Niagara Wheatfield. That seems to be a game that most people are going to want to get to.
Yeah,
they have a pretty good program.
Very cool.
As well. So thank you very much for joining us today, and best of luck to you in the years ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Go
coming
Joes.
in. Appreciate it. Thank you. Welcome back to WNYathletics.com High School Sports Roundup. I'm Frank Wolf, and we're going to talk a little bit about boys fed hockey, where we are in the season right now. There's just a couple weeks left to go before playoffs. So teams across Division 1, 2, and 3 are all starting to play. They're starting to grip their sticks a little bit tighter in anticipation of the postseason. A couple of key matchups still yet to be had. This Friday night, you've got Niagara Wheatfield and Lancaster, OP, Will North set to do battle. So a couple of key Division 1 games this weekend. St. Mary's and St. Franny's. That's a nice Monsignor Martin game with the implications there. And then on Monday, Ken West and Ken East at the Harbor Center. It's going to be a nice Division 2 matchup that I'm not going to want to miss, and you're not going to want to miss that one either. Both teams have been playing extremely well as of late. We did have an opportunity just the other day to speak with Williamsville North head coach Bob Rosen and his center, Brett Sardinia. Just recently, Sardinia set a school record for goals scored in a season at 23 with 2 games to play. So Sardinia, the new single-season goal scoring leader at Williamsville North. Here's our interview with Coach Rosen and Brett Sardinia. Here with Coach Bob Rosen from the Williamsville North Spartans. They are 10-0-4 on the season and getting ready for their final 2 games against Orchard Park and Lancaster. Coach, at the beginning of the season when we spoke, you had said to me that you believed this team had all the tools to get back to the KeyBank Center and really make another run at states. And at 10-0-4, it'd be tough to argue with you about that. When you first told me, I didn't want to say I didn't believe you, but I knew that there was going to be a lot more. I thought there'd be a lot more competition. But as far as the public schools go and the teams you have to worry about, You guys have had your way with them. Except, Clarence tied you last week.
Clarence tied us
in an emotional game, but
tied Niagara Wheatfield and beat them by goal. The thing about our league, I think on any given night, anybody can beat anybody. And that was certainly the case. If you don't come to play in our league, you're going to pay the price. I think this is top to bottom the best league in New York State. You have fierce competition. Teams all want to beat one another, and the kids all know each other from travel hockey, and it really creates a great environment.
For as long as I can remember, when I've seen like St. Joe's play, for an example, whether it was your team or Canisius or Wheatfield or Lancaster, they gave St. Joe's their absolute best. Now it looks like when Will North takes the ice, not that they're not giving St. Joe's their best, but you can tell you're in for a fight. So,
yeah, that's been pretty common throughout the years. It's the first year we won a state championship in 2002, and in 2000 winning a federation championship when there was only one championship. I think that put a target on our back, and we've had it ever since, I feel.
Yeah. Coach, if you can put your finger on it, is there a particular player, a particular line, maybe the way the goaltender's playing? What's the reason, or what's behind the success this year, especially you guys haven't lost a game?
Yeah, the style that we play is a little different than norm. There's a lot of offense, and it reminded me when I first started coaching 35 years ago. We just went, and this team is kind of like that. Riley's been holding us in. We give up a lot of odd man rushes, and he's bailed us out, and our forwards, are good most nights, and I think we try to go with what our strength is. I don't want to put a square peg into a round hole.
You seem to use that phrase quite a bit when we talk.
Yeah.
But Coach, we wish you the best of luck. Anything planned between those two games? Any trips?
No, we just have practice and get ready for the one game elimination, and I think certainly the Clarence game was a reminder. Orchard Park is going to be tough Friday night at Leisure Rink, and then Lancaster. So we really don't have a night off. I basically told them after the Clarence game, right now you got to pretend it's single elimination, and that's what you have going forward. And anything other than our best effort is going to be a problem. We had a really good practice on Friday and played a really good game, complete game against Timon on Sunday. So we just have to keep building and going forward.
Sardina just broke a record. You've been around, like you said, Coach, you've been here over 30 years. Sardina pumps the 23 in for you with 2 games remaining. I'll say, I don't think he's been the most talented offensive player you had, but still 23 goals is remarkable.
Yeah.
Considering the players you've had.
Yeah, him and Andrew Bruno, the pair of them feed off of one another, and you always look for players to make one another better, and both of those make each other better. And they have great chemistry together, and the opportunity has certainly created him to be able to score the goals that he has scored, and it's a tremendous accomplishment.
Sure. Well, thank you, Coach, for your time. I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you hopefully at the KeyBank Center again.
I hope to be there.
I'm here with Will North Spartan Brett Sardinia, who recently set a new school record with 23 goals, still has 2 games to play. So good chance that Brett is going to extend that goal lead. But they are the #1 ranked school in the large school division in New York State. Brett, you guys are 10-0-4 on the season, having a great season, a great year, as you know. What's been the secret of the success for this team?
We come to work every day to practice. Bob never lets us have a day off. We're always working. We're always trying to get better. And we're going over plays. We're watching film at Bob's house. And it's always all around, like a ball around hockey. And we have such a strong core of kids coming back and kids coming up from JV last year, and we're just really putting it together.
Talk about the chemistry between your line mates, Matt Belinsky and Andrew Bruno.
Well, that goes back a long time. Me and Andrew have been playing together for a long time, since we were like 8, and we just have such a good chemistry on the ice. And then Belinsky, we've been playing together, not as long, but it's still like easy to play with them because they're such good hockey players, and they make the game so much easier.
You guys lost a lot of vocal characters from your locker room, your state championship team, Jake Zurat and Josh Surwick, just to name a couple. Adam Botts scored a lot of big goals. Who has filled the void of, those voices in your locker room this season?
Anthony Trujillo really stepped up this year for a captain role. He's been taking lead in the team and making sure everybody's intact. As long as Belinsky, too, he's been really making sure everybody's just in line and ready to focus and play hockey.
You guys had a couple of ties in the last week, one with Clarence and then, of course, Canisius. Just talk about those two particular games, and you guys gave up 7 goals. Were those wake-up calls, or is that a product of teams in Division I giving you everything they have?
Yeah, I think it's just every game we play, every team's just going to give us their best game. I know Clarence, they always want to beat us, and we came out first game and we beat them pretty bad, so they wanted to come back and give us a good game. And we didn't have our best game, but we held it together and we fought back and just ended up in a tie. And then as far as which game?
Canisius?
Canisius is always a good team. They're always ready to play us. It's a little bit of a rival, and they got some really core forwards over there. They got some 4 kids that can play hockey and match up against us. And sure, they watched film on us, so they knew what we were going to do, and we knew what they were going to do, and it was just a battle.
I believe, not to make excuses at all, but you guys were coming off a game against St. Joe's the night before. They might have had a few extra days rest. And
that was an emotional game for us, especially winning and tying the first one. And for us seniors, that meant.
Is that because St. Joe's has had, let's face it, they've had their way with Division I for a few years now. You guys, I think last year they beat you guys pretty soundly in your final meeting, so that had to carry some weight. So, like you said, you seniors seemed to really get up for that particular game. You guys came out victorious.
Yeah, that was, like I said, that meant everything to the seniors. We didn't want to lose. That was our last game against St. Joe's, and like you said, last year they beat us pretty bad, and we all talked about it, and we just wanted to come back and do it to them.
I think that was a big win for Coach too.
Yes. There's no words after the game. No words. It was just awesome.
So, you've got 2 more games. You've got Orchard Park. You've got Lancaster. You're going to get their best, and then you've got playoffs. Have you guys started thinking about playoffs, or are you just worried about the next game in front of you?
We're just worried about one game at a time. We know how, against Clarence we came out, we didn't have a good game, and we tied it. So we're just worried about playing our game and making sure we win each and every game we play.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time, and I wish you guys the best the rest of the season. Currently, the Williamsville North Spartans are sitting in first place at 10-0-4, 4 ties, 24 points, and they are the number 1 ranked large school in New York State. The other number 1 ranked hockey school in Western New York for small schools is none other than Sweet Home. Currently, Sweet Home is sitting at 11-1. 22 points, just a couple ahead of St. Francis. NT, the next closest school, public school, is sitting at 12 down in Division III. We also had an opportunity to catch up with Sweet Home Panthers defenseman and forward Andrew Sizz and Tyler Edholm, along with assistant coach Brian Turner on their season. I'm here with Sweet Home Panther, Andy Sizz, and Tyler Edholm. They are 13-1-1 on the season, coming off a 3-2 overtime win against St. Francis on Saturday. Gentlemen, you guys are the number 1 ranked school, small schools Division II in New York State. Talk about how your season has gone, and is this the way you thought the season would go?
Yeah, I feel like the season definitely. I'm kind of surprised that we're 1, but I felt like we should be up in the top team in our division. after the couple years that we've all been on the team. We've really developed well, and it's nice to get that one ranking and keep rolling.
Yeah, I know that coming into this year, I was looking forward to a real strong season because I knew everyone was growing up. We got a lot of seniors this year, and we knew it was going to be a good year.
You guys have grown up together last few years, playing some of you guys as freshmen and sophomores, and now you guys are moving up and pretty much saying goodbye. But have you noticed the transition, how you got better each year? And like last year kind of ended disappointed. The way it ended was a little disappointing. What did you learn from last year and playing together all these years, and now your senior year, you guys ready to make a solid run at the D2 state title?
Yeah, I feel like last year we learned that every play matters. That every play, every shift, every face-off, we gotta be ready and force our way into the win.
Yeah, like adding on what Tyler said, we just learned that every little thing counts. You know, that overtime loss was definitely devastating last year, but hopefully that won't happen again this year.
How does Coach Dave keep the locker room together and keep you guys focused?
I feel like we do a good job of focusing on ourselves. We've been together all since modified, 7 seniors, all 4 years varsity starters, and we really bond and vibe. We've gone on 3 trips. We're going on a trip coming up soon. It's a good team bonding.
Yeah, we're all real close. We know when to focus and when we can have fun.
You guys are about to head off to, I believe, up to Watertown, Lake Placid area to take on a couple of teams. Just talk about how that experience will help you bond as you make this final push for the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be real nice. We're going to play some tough teams up there, and we're all going to be together all the time and just enjoying each other's company.
Yeah, it'll be fun rooming with everybody, staying in the hotel, having some fun up there, and winning some hockey games.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Assistant coach Brian Turner of the Sweet Home Panthers, currently at 13-1-1 and the #1 ranked school in New York State for small schools. Coach Turner, just talk about the development of these players from year to year and where they are today.
I think it's been a process. These guys all started, 4 years ago when we had actually 10 starting freshmen in our lineup. So they've definitely put their time in, taken their lumps throughout the past seasons, and coming together as a team now, doing the same thing for 4 years. They've really developed, they've really strengthened that bond, and a lot of them have excelled, and we got some, great athletes and players on the team.
Has the season gone the way you guys thought it would prior to the season? I know everybody has goals. I think it's safe to say that you guys so far have knocked it out of the park, but you still have, playoffs in front of you. I've seen teams with undefeated records get knocked out in the first round. How do you guys keep the guys focused so that something like that wouldn't happen?
We're constantly having we have dialogue about it all the time, how important it is to just never get complacent, get better. This season we had a couple players that came in that are really strong underclassmen to kind of add to the core that we already had. And I think these guys, with the experience that they've had, they understand, how easy it could be where they got knocked out their junior year. We had a pretty good team, and we take a penalty in overtime and end up getting a power play goal scored against us, and it's over just like that. So they know how it feels. They don't want to feel that again. So I don't think they'll take any team for granted in this league. We know there's a lot of good coaches, a ton of good players, and it's going to be anybody's game, any one of the playoff games. Once you get in, there's no reseeding. So every team's good. It's going to be strong, tough competition.
Talk about the player, goaltender Michael Lisman.
Mike's been great. He's got, a really good approach to the game. He's kind of a happy-go-lucky type kid. Doesn't get too stressed out, doesn't feel the pressure. He just goes and he plays, and, he gets the job done for us.
When I talk to other people around Western New York and downstate about the hockey scene, when I tell them Sweet Home is ranked #1, I'll get a look. Like, how did that happen, and are they for real? What do you have to say to people that question, where this team is right now at this point in the season?
Yeah, we're not typically known as a hockey school. We're known for other sports, and we've had our, couple years. Back in 2008, we've been down at the Harbor Center since Dave and I have been coaching together. So it's been really, it comes down to the players on your roster. As coaches, we continue to do a lot of the same things and try to get a little bit better. But you're kind of at the mercy of the cards you're dealt. And we got a great group of kids, and basically I attribute all our success to the core players that we have.
Thanks, Coach. Welcome back to WNYathletics.com High School Sports Roundup. Continuing on with Boys Fed Talk. Like I said, just a couple more weeks to go before playoffs. As far as seedings go, Will North is still in the top spot for large schools. West Seneca East holds the top spot in Division II, followed by Grand Island and then Kenmore West. West Seneca West trailing in 4th place, but they're awfully close, only separated by just about 6 or 7 points there. So things are getting very hot and heavy in Division II. Will North and Niagara Wheatfield pretty close in that Division I, 4 points separating them. Big game coming up, as I mentioned, for both teams this weekend. Niagara Wheatfield has Lancaster, who's in 3rd spot, and Will North has Orchard Park, who's sitting in the 4th spot of large schools seating. Down in the Catholic schools, you got Canisius, St. Joe's, and Timon, 1, 2, and 3. Canisius has been playing much better recently, as we know. They had a big win over St. Joe's. St. Joe's been hobbled by injuries. As the season progresses, I still think St. Joe's is the top school in that Catholic school division, so I still watch out for St. Joe's. They've got enough players hanging around that won it all the last couple of seasons, so I'd still be worried about St. Joe's, and I'm not bothered that they've got a couple of losses on their schedule or in the standings. St. Joe's is still St. Joe's, so I'd watch out for them, but I like the way Canisius has played as of late. That's all we've got for you right now on Boys Fed Hockey. We'll get on to boys basketball after this.
And welcome back to Western New York Athletics High School Sports Weekly. This is our boys basketball segment. Just some news and notes from around Section 6 and Monsignor Martin. Tuesday night, West Seneca West improved to 17-0 this season with a come-from-behind victory over Will North. Justin Johnson had 42 points and went over the 1,000 career point mark, and he also passed his brother and his head coach, Jess Randall. Dylan Gabu hit a go-ahead three-pointer with 2.5 seconds left to put Pioneer over Maryvale 56-55. Griffin Chundy made a go-ahead three throw for Ellicottville's 59-58 victory over Franklinville. And Newfane made 14 three-pointers in their 98-30 win over Albion on Tuesday night. Next up, from Williamsville South, we're going to have someone who's going to go down as an all-time great, Greg Dolan, and his head coach, Gabe Michael, on the show. I'm Francis Beck, and we're back to the WNY Athletics High School Weekly Show. Along with me from Williamsville South is guard forward Greg Dolan and his head coach Gabe Michael of the Billies. They're having a fantastic season. They are 11-2 in the season, 8-0 in their league. So, just guys, how has the season been going? Is that record indicative of how things are going?
Go ahead, G. Yeah, I mean we've had a good season so far. Played a lot of good non-league games, and of course in our league we've played well, and we've been meshing as a team and getting better and better every game.
I agree. I think the one thing for us that's really challenging is last year I think we learned a lesson of we peaked a little too early, and we're really cognizant of we got to keep this going and we got to keep getting better, and the guys are doing a good job of it, but we still have a little ways to go, so we'll see. But to this point, we're pleased with where we are right now.
And I know you scheduled some tough non-leaguers, especially early. How did that prepare you for the rest of your league schedule as you went on?
We try to do that every year. We opened with Canisius and we lost by a lot of points, but that was a good learning experience. You get to watch the film and you're really exposed out there, and you really the guys can better understand what they need to do, especially defensively against teams like that. And I think we've grown a long way. St. Francis got us pretty good early in the season. We went down to Long Island and played Chaminade, who's top 3 in the state right now. So those teams, you get on tape and you get to really see you really improve, and it's a much better experience, I think, for these guys to play those type of teams.
Personally for you, it's been a wonderful season. You've now broken almost every school record except for assist. Just talk about what it's like these past few months, breaking all these records, seeing your name up there, getting all these accolades. How have you just been handling all that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been really honored and blessed, for 4 years to have Coach Gabe and amazing teammates all along. It's been definitely a journey, something I don't try not to take granted for every day, but it's been awesome. I mean, I don't really let it get to me too much. What we want is more than my records and how I'm doing. So just wins, and I care about the team more than anything else.
And Coach, we know about the on the paper stuff, all the points. What's the other stuff that he brings that maybe you don't necessarily see on a stat sheet every night?
Well, Greg and I were just joking on the way over how fast 4 years have went. He drove me here, and I said we couldn't picture that 4 years ago. So just the maturity that he brings now is completely different than, on the court. Obviously he's improved, but the maturity level, you went from coaching a freshman who was just kind of, all freshmen in high school are little punks, and Greg's now become, he's become a man. You can have a real conversation with, talk to his teammates about the important things, help guys out. So he's really, and I've told this from him from the beginning, he and Cody Sanford really are coaching this team. And, we empower them to do that, obviously, but they're doing a great job, and that's what they bring. They're really running the show, those two.
And Eric, I know you have your whole family is really involved in basketball. Your mom is the coach of the girls team. Mm-hmm. Your sister Hannah plays on it. What was it like growing up in a family that really cared so much about basketball?
Yeah, it was definitely something that we've all had a bond with. We all just kind of picked it up and loved it from the start. We were never, forced or had to play basketball, but we, it kind of, when we all loved it and saw what it could bring you, we all kind of came together on that, and it's something we've shared for a while. And having my mom coach at South and my sister play with her, along with how I had 2 years with my brother, it's been a lot of special moments and unforgettable memories.
How young were you when you actually started playing? Do you remember?
I don't remember the exact age, but I could definitely probably say around first or second grade, because I remember playing with my brothers, up on my brother's team. And that's kind of something I always thank my brother for, was he was always really good at accepting me and always brought me along. I always played up with him 2 years, and that's what I credit myself to, was him.
And going forward, you guys have a big, in the front view mirror, you got this team, West Seneca West, which is suddenly on fire. You guys really haven't played them. You haven't seen much on them, but what you've heard about them, what do you think? What kind of team could you be facing in the next couple of weeks in the playoffs?
Yeah, the fun thing about West Seneca West, if we, there's some things we both have to get through to get to that game. Obviously, McKinley and North Tonawanda are out there, and then Sweet Home and West Williamsville East are also a pretty tough team. So it's not a guarantee, but obviously everyone's looking at that game. The thing would be fun about that game is we really are kind of mirror images of each other. The way we both like to press and run. And we've never seen a three we didn't like, both teams. And, they have a great team. We believe we have a great team. Obviously, they're undefeated, which says a great deal about them. So I think if we got to play at Buff State, that would be great for just basketball in general, because I think you'd see a game that was probably played in the 80s for both teams, which you don't see a lot of at Buff State. And I think the style of play would just be really, really enjoyable.
And I think one of the hallmarks about you and this team is you're usually the guy who covers their best guy, no matter what position. Have you put any kind of thought into possibly guarding Justin Johnson, or are you just still focused on the next game?
Yeah, I haven't really put too much into it right now. We still have 5 games to go in our regular season and then go into playoffs. But Justin's a great player, really talented. We played him last year when he was at Timon, and it's always fun having 2 guys who can really, really play the game, go at each other, and it's always a great time.
And what does this team finally need to work on before they head into the playoffs?
You want to take that, Greg?
Sure. We've definitely made a lot of great strides. I'd say just the little things is what we're focusing on now. Playing hard, not taking any possession for granted, not turning the ball over. We're a smaller team this year, so definitely rebounding with 5 and just pushing and going. And if every guy's locked in and has a mentality for the team, we have the ability to do some great things.
Coach?
Yeah, Greg nailed it. That's why I said he's coaching the team this year. But it is little details with this team. We have a tendency to play 3 great quarters and then fall asleep. For instance, last night we scored 2 points in the fourth quarter. I understand you're up a lot of points and it's tough, but we have to understand that every time we're on the court, it's a chance to get better. And I think the younger guys are starting to understand that. The seniors know it. They've been through a lot. But again, we have to kind of just take that next step. We're close, but we have to take that next step to beat a team like West Seneca West or McKinley or North Tonawanda at Buff State. It's at the end of the year, you're only remembered for what happens in those 2 or 3 games at Buff State. So that's where we're working towards right now.
All right. Thank you guys for coming on tonight.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
This is Francis Beck with Greg Dolan and Gabe Michael. Come back for more on Western New York High School Sports Weekly. Welcome to the Western New York Athletics High School Roundup Show. This is our wrestling segment, and on with me is Matt O'Rourke, our wrestling beat, who's probably at this point one of the top wrestling minds in maybe the section covering it, or the area, possibly the state. Matt, you were at the state duels tournament this week. It's the first ever one. Just talk a little bit about that, and of course Lancaster went, and Falconer. Talk about how they did a little bit.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, so this weekend was the first ever NISFA Federation dual meet tournament. There was representatives from all 11 sections across the state, including some wild cards for big schools, 3 for big schools, 1 for small schools. The first champions were in large schools, were Wantagh High School out of Section 8. They've been the top 1 or 2 team all season long, and they're a perennial powerhouse. And in small schools, it was Mount Sinai from Section 11 who won. I actually did like some predictions, and I predicted the large school tournament exactly right, except for 2 matches in the earlier rounds that didn't really make an effect on the later rounds. Small schools was a little different. Small schools was both tournaments were very competitive. Small schools saw a bunch of upsets, a bunch of top 4 teams going down. But anyway, it was a great weekend of wrestling. I was able to talk to officials. I was able to talk to the state wrestling coordinator, Marty Sherman, and get some great advice and some insight into how it got set up and how he thought it was running. Lancaster represented Section 6 for the large schools. They were the Section 6 duals champion. And then Falconer, of course, won the small schools. We'll start with Lancaster. They went 0-2. They had a tough draw. They wrestled Minnesink Valley, who out of Section 9, Sullivan, Rockland County, who was number 1 team going into the duels. They were seeded second. They lost to Minnesink, perennial powerhouse, stud team, and then they also were defeated by Section 4 wildcard team Horseheads. Overall, Lancaster, I think that, I spent a lot of time talking to Coach Lorenz, and I think that he thinks that they would have liked to wrestle a little better. But of course, winning the first duels in the program history was a big step. Making it to the first ever state dual meet tournament was a big step. And now, like we discussed, it gives him a benchmark or something for his program to look forward to in the future. Falconer went 1-1. They were in a bracket, and I'll add Minnesink was they took second in the large school tournaments. They were second in the state, and Wantagh defeated them in the final. Falconer went 1-1. They were the 7th seed, and they opened their tournament wrestling. The small school ended up being the small school champion, Mount Sinai, in a very close dual meet that I had actually picked Falconer to win that one. That one could have went either way, and it ended up being a match in the middleweights that kind of took a turn for Mount Sinai, and this was before the studs for Falconer and those upper weights got going. So by that point, they were up by enough where they forfeited to Falconer studs and escaped with a 5 or 6 point victory. But it was a good match either way. And then they ended up beating Section 10 champion small school Gouverneur. The Wildcats from Gouverneur are always a top program in Northern New York, so that was a great win for Falconer, and also over a good team, a good program, and also to get the first win for all of Section 6 history at the state dual meet tournament. This weekend was also the Catholic High School Athletic Association dual meet tournament. It held in Long Island. St. Francis, St. Joe's, and Canisius all represented there, and St. Francis actually won it. They lost their first match of the day and of the weekend. They wrestled 9 duels all weekend, and they lost their first one. They ended up storming back to go 8-1, and they had a little bit of help from some other teams, including St. Joe's, that had beaten that a couple teams were kind of round robin beating each other. But it ended up that St. Francis ended up winning the Catholic duels. Joe's took fourth, and then obviously, like I said, Canisius represented section Monsignor Martin League as well.
Real quick before we go into our next topic, give me just 2 kids you saw this weekend or this weekend who participated in these dual meets who impressed you.
Well, of course, from our local teams.
Yeah.
Lancaster, of course, Joe Andreessen has been a top wrestler in our area in upstate New York all season long. Ryan Stencil from Lancaster, defending section champ, did very well. Also, I was a big fan of Jimmy Kramer from Falconer, who I had mentioned last week and wrote about. He was returning from injury all season. He looked excellent after only wrestling a couple matches so far this year. And I also liked Corey Keefe, took 6th in the state last year from Falconer, heavyweight, 195, 220 pounds. He looked impressive as well.
And this week, the first ever girls rankings came out on armdrag.com. Just talk about what you thought of that and what this means for girls wrestlers all around the state.
Well, that's a great question. A great topic. Yeah, our friends over at Armdrag, go check them out, armdrag.com. They cover Section 5 and 6 wrestling. They came out with their first ever high school girls rankings of their own in upstate New York, or in New York, across New York State, sorry. And there's a couple representatives from Section 6 that are also for schools here in our area. Niagara Wheatfield has 3 young ladies ranked in their weight classes. They would be Riley Young, number 3 at 113. Kyla Holkin, she's at 120 pounds. She's the 3rd ranked wrestler. And then also Kendra Cheers from Wheatfield, number 2 at 145. There's a couple other ones. Mushira Shepard from Salamanca. Micah Walters from Southwestern. Danielle Stanley from Akron-Alden. Christina Mahoney from Depew. Bailey Krause from Sweet Home. And Christiani Davis from Niagara Falls are all ranked in their respective weight classes from Section 6.
Wow, it's very impressive. And do you think going forward, what could this mean possibly any future things that could be happening for these girls?
Well, there's been some talk so far of an individual state tournament for girls. I'm not sure exactly all the details of that. I know it's been rumored to be happening in New York City at some point this season, but I'm not sure what the implications are for those girls who participate in that tournament who have also participated in their teams this winter. I'm not sure if it's a NISFA sanctioned event quite yet, but I'm hopeful, and everybody should be, the more wrestling the better. I'm hopeful that it ends up being something that can be worked out within NISFA and agreed upon, and maybe brought
maybe they could sponsor it somehow.
Yeah, or just kind of validate it and say, yeah, like we endorse this, like this is good for our athletes because they, our Section 6 wrestlers go to our public schools, are covered by NISFA, to be able to say, yes, this is a legitimate tournament. We endorse going to this. We endorse this event.
All right. Yeah. Now, Matt will be on this Saturday on WGR 550's Inside High School Sports. He'll be talking about wrestling during the show, so be sure to tune into that. But this was the WNY Athletics High School Weekly Roundup, and we'll be back for more.
Francis and I had an opportunity to speak with Maritime Charter AD Charlie Comerford about the new football program that he's going to be starting this fall. And here's that interview. Welcome back to WNY Athletics High School Sports Roundup. This is Frank Wolf with Francis Boeck, and we are on the phone with Charlie Comerford, the AD at Maritime Charter in Buffalo. Charlie, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. I've followed you guys this year and like the stuff you're doing, so I appreciate you having me on the show.
No problem. Charlie, I know before we start talking about Maritime, you wanted to address the, exactly what went down at Timon and kind of get whatever you have to get off your chest. If you want to do that, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just, I sort of, when our principal was, they didn't re-up her contract, so we had, on Thursday, we had exams that just ended, so we had our best workout of the year. We had almost every guy on the team there, 28 out of 29. I know the numbers are a little startling that we have 29 guys, but So we had a full workout there. And then Friday morning, we had a workout scheduled for 10 o'clock, so I'm getting ready to go pick up guys for the workout, and I get a call letting me know that our principal her contract hadn't been renewed. So I was as shocked as anyone. She was a good friend. She was a good supporter of athletics. She had every game, football, basketball, lacrosse, hockey, and she came to everything. She was great. So, the powers that be made that decision, and I didn't support it, and I was always supportive of my friends and people I'm loyal to. So because of that, I left the school, and I was, other than the kids, I was fine with the decision. I didn't have any regrets. I was loyal to the principal, and stuff like that is important to me. Being loyal to people who are good to me, being loyal to friends, and so the next day I put out a statement on Twitter and stuff, and I really didn't think anything of it, and then it sort of took on a life of its own, and people started saying crazy stuff that never happened, and there was never anything involved with academics there. There was never anything unethical happened at the time, and it was simply a case of someone who supported the program, someone who dedicated their life to time and wasn't treated right, and the school knew where I stood with that, and they knew if I left that the kids who I brought to that school to play football, to be students there, would leave with me. So that was basically the whole story. And again, it's taken on a life of its own. I don't know where stuff like this starts, but nothing unethical ever happened. Our kids were good students. Our kids graduated. We sent a ton of kids to college, and we were doing things the right way there. We never had anything questioned, never anything like that. So I don't know where stuff like this started. I don't know if it was people who were mad the kids were leaving or whatever, but again, it took on a life of its own, and I took a stand. I took a moral stand there, and I said, I'm not going to let my friends be treated like this. And it is what it is. Once the kids started leaving, they offered me my job back in July, or tried convincing me to take my job back, and I had the same position. I said I'm not doing it, and I refused to do it. And at that point, they moved on another direction. But again, the rumors, the negative stuff that's said about me or Michelle Batten or anyone else who was at Timon are simply not true, never been true. And everyone who's involved, the principal, the president, the board, will tell anyone that it's not true. So I just, stuff like that, which I never really talked about until now, but it's good to sort of clear the air with people and let them know that whatever they heard wasn't true.
I appreciate you setting the record straight on that, because a lot of us had completely surprised. I mean, when we think of Timon and Timon athletics and what's been going on there, and seeing you guys take trips to play powerhouses, the thing you think of is Charlie Comerford.
Yeah.
I mean, so a lot of us, I think, were extremely taken back and kind of worried about you and what you were going to do, and obviously you guys had a team. Let's not kid ourselves. You had a team that could have played with Canisius. You beat them a year before. It looked like things were going in such a great direction for Timon that you guys legitimately had a chance to win a Catholic state title.
Yeah, I mean, that was it was a bittersweet fall, to say the least. I mean, to see Matt and Justin do what they did at West Seneca West, and then with Jeremiah at South Park, with Greg Braswell at South Park, and Jan Renfro at South Park, and Jason Armistead at South Park, and Justin Campbell at Bennett, Austin Watkins at Burgard, and R.C. Carmichael at Burgard, Javon Thomas at Cleve Hill. I mean, we had a lot of talent. I mean, it was tough to watch. I was happy for all my kids. Journey Boylan at Canisius. I mean, we have guys all over Western New York who were parts of championship teams, state championship teams, Connolly Cup winners, Buffalo News Player of the Year winners, Trench Trophy winners. Just the accolades were seemingly never ending, but it was tough to watch, and it was something that I can't say it didn't cross my mind before I resigned, but with the way the school was going and some stuff that was happening there, and some enrollment issues and some the tuition at Timon is out of control, and that might be another a totally separate segment, but to have a $10,500 tuition in a small Irish Catholic working class neighborhood, it wasn't working. We got inner city kids, we had kids from South Buffalo couldn't afford the tuition, and I don't think I was lasting long there despite my allegiance to the school and being a graduate of the school. I don't know how long I would have lasted after that. I would have liked to coach that team this fall. I'm not going to lie to anyone. I would have loved to coach those guys. But once the thing happened with Michelle, and once I saw how they treated Michelle, it was really something I couldn't in the right conscience be there anymore, coach there anymore. And I hate to do it. I hate to do that to the kids, and it was a tough situation for everyone.
So obviously it's a big part of your past, but it's, you're on to bigger and better things now, so to speak. Now you're at Maritime Charter. What was it that led you there, and what intrigued you about this position at Maritime?
My uncle, his name is Larry Aztec. He was the commandant at Maritime Charter for probably 10 years. So he was here for a while, and I was always here. I was always around the school, and he actually had wanted to get football at Maritime before I took the job at Timon. But then once I took the job at Timon, he was always around. He helped us with stats there. He was a Timon grad, so it was sort of a passion for him to bring it to Maritime. But then he was back involved with Timon, so it sort of never happened, never came to fruition. But he actually retired 2 years ago. But when I resigned at Timon, he mentioned, he actually called me the next day and said, you should bring it back you should bring football to Maritime. And with Ty Parker, who coached with us last year at Timon, it was sort of a no-brainer on the merging. It was, neither of us probably have enough money, kids, resources to do it on our own for the first few years. So, the fact that me and Ty coached together, the fact that Maritime was a place I wanted to be, a place I was familiar with, and a place that's really doing great things. I mean, our graduation rate is phenomenal. The kids, there's discipline here. The kids walk around the halls in uniforms. They say, "Ma'am," they say, "Sir." It's a good place. It's with good kids, and it's something I wanted to do. And then obviously the health science aspect is something, with my relationship with Ty, is something we wanted to do.
Does that mean that Ty Parker is going to be on your staff?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of spearheading this from the Maritime aspect, and Ty spearheading it from the health science aspect, along with their AD, Rob Baxter. But, Ty's going to be, whatever you want, our assistant head coach, defense coordinator. So, we're in this together, and we're sort of the two pioneers here.
So at Maritime, Cheryl, you mentioned that it's not necessarily tuition-based. You somewhat apply. Having a football program has to help those numbers, I would imagine. But is there like a limit? Like, does Maritime only take X amount of students?
Well, currently, yes. I mean, we're on Genesee Street, right near the 33 in downtown Buffalo. So, we could comfortably probably take a few more students. So we're pretty much at capacity right now. But in 2 years, we're going to be in a new building in South Buffalo with a new field house there, with a football field there. So we'll probably have, one of the, if not the best facilities in Western New York. And we could probably house up to 1,000 students at that new school that we're building. So for the, in the time being now, we're probably a little tight with enrollment. We will get a few more kids because of the football thing. We already have kids calling. We have kids excited. But in 2 years when we move into a new building, this could be something that really, gets us an extra 25 to 30 kids a year.
Now, you also, I had read in the Buffalo News that you may have to play all your games on the road this year, which isn't a big deal for you. But just talk about, where, if you were to have a home game, have you been in talks with someone from Section 6 or even Monsignor Martin to say, hey, we'd like to use this field a couple times a year as our home field?
I haven't yet. I probably will. We probably do want to play one home game at least, just to have a senior night or a homecoming or something like that. The main factor is, and we could probably find a field or rent a field, but we're trying to keep costs down this year, and it's sort of that inaugural year where we're paying for helmets, we're paying for shoulder pads, we're paying for jerseys, we're paying for girdles, just all the little things that when you have your program up and running, you don't think about. We're getting all those costs at once. So, while both of our schools are doing well, we have some money. It's tough. I mean, it's definitely a grind. So, if we have to, we'd like to play a couple home games, definitely one, but we could do that again. Right now, a lot of it's a cost issue.
Coach, right now I know the bed numbers, whether you're going to be Class A, Class B, is still the state has to figure that out, what they're going to do. Would you feel it would be fair to put you guys in Class A in your first year with starting the program this year?
Honestly, it doesn't matter to me. They could put us in A, double A, B, C. I don't worry about that stuff. I sort of, I'm trying to follow the model. I follow the Timon. I mean, when I was hired at Timon, the 5 years before me, they'd won 11 games. I remember meeting with Jim Polano in his office, and he told me, our goal, we should probably drop down to the lower division and play the lower teams. And I just kind of looked at him like, no, that's not how we're going to do things. In that first year, we beat Canisius, we beat Joe's. The next year, we beat Franny's. Played 2 championship games, started playing the national schedule, and while we didn't accomplish some goals there, we definitely we were ranked every year. I was there at time in my 6 years. We did some really good things, and that's sort of the model here. I want to play anyone. I want to play the best teams. If we have to travel, we'll travel. We want to play Canisius this year. Canisius wants to play us. I'm in the mindset of if we have to get beat, if we have to lose a few games our first couple of years, we'll do that to build something better in the future.
Now, we had talked to Tim Slade recently, and he said that the charter schools would have a seat at the table when discussing as a part of Section 6. So, you'll have to play a set schedule every year, and you may only be able to schedule 1 or 2 non-leaguers, if I'm understanding correctly. So
yeah.
Okay. And
I mean, I talked to Tim last week, and I said, Tim, what's the deal with scheduling? Can I request a game? I said, Canisius wants to play us. He said, yes, just send an email to me and Ken and say, as long as our sectional schedule is satisfied. So if someone in the section has an open date and we have to play them, or we have an open date, we have to play them before we play a non-league game. So I'm fine with that. Again, I'm fine with anything. And if we do have an open date, we'll play the best team we can play, which in this area right now is Canisius or Lancaster or Seneca West, one of those teams, but Canisius wants to play us. So if we can make that happen, we'll definitely make that happen. But if we get to play a team in the section, that's great too. So I'm fine either way.
We're talking with Charlie Comerford, the athletic director at Maritime Charter, who's putting a football program together for the school, the first in their history, and they're looking to start this fall. Charlie, how are numbers looking as of right now? Are you having players commit? And a lot of these teams are already in the weight room and have their off-season workouts. How's that going? And is that ball starting to roll for you?
Yeah, and that's probably the biggest hurdle we have is off-season stuff. I mean, I think once we get into a rhythm of we're going to meet here for practice, we're going to take this bus, we're going to put equipment here, I think all that will take care of itself. But what I've always done in the weight room is we start the first week of January and we run until August, and the basketball guys will pick up when they're done with the season, and we've always had that continuity with the lifting program. So it's tough now, and we've started on our end at Maritime, but obviously it's tough to get the health science guys over here. But as far as participation, we have a good 20 kids who have been lifting and want to lift and who want to, have shown that they're dedicated and want to do the stuff to be a good program. So again, that's hard. I can't get the health science guys here at 2:45 every day to lift. But, once we get closer to the season, definitely in the summer, we'll start having, everything will be together.
Coach, can you give us a name or two that people might know from other sports that is planning to be on the team next year?
I don't know. as far as from our schools, I mean, no one's really ever played football in the high school, so there's no big names. I know when I brought the helmet over to health science, it was during basketball practice, and I know Cam Briggs from their basketball team said, "Oh, this might make me want to play." and there's been a lot of that going on. But I don't. There's guys we know from little leagues and from other schools who are good players who are at our schools now who want to play, but probably no names that are huge in the high school world right now.
Now, obviously, Section 6, they're allowed to start practicing, I believe, that second week of August. Is it the second week of August? Any idea where your practices may start, or is that way too far ahead for right now?
Yeah, I think we have a pretty central location at Maston Park right now.
Okay.
So that would be that's the plan right now. And that could change, if we find something easier, but there is a good place about 0.4 of a mile away from both schools. So, and we're very close to health science, and we're a little over a mile away. So, logistically, again, it's going to be tough, but again, once we get into a rhythm, once we figure out where things are going, I think it'll start running a little smoother.
Another question I have for you, Coach. This is obviously Maritime's and Health Sciences' first time putting a football team together, so there really isn't a culture built in just yet. How are you going to build that?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a concern. I mean, the best thing we can do is build it from my end at Maritime, the weight room, and what Ty does in his off season with those guys, and then the summer's going to be huge. I mean, a lot of our guys from both schools have played football before. They've played Little League. A lot of these kids played Little League through freshman year, so we actually have guys who played football last year. But the summer will be huge. Just building a culture. A lot of these kids have no idea what to expect, no idea how a high school football program operates. So, being there every day in the summer and teaching these kids how we act, how we do things, and what to expect, I think the summer will be huge.
Do you have a list of potential coaches that you want to reach out to that you've worked with in the past? I mean, I don't need to know who, but have you started to work on that process at all of recruiting coaches?
A little bit. I mean, Ty and I talked, and I said, listen, you get 4 or 5 guys, I'll get 4 or 5 guys, and we'll build a staff out of that way. So, both of us are. It's a collaborative effort, and we have guys who we coached at that time, and Ty brought a couple good guys with him last year from Bennett, and they coached with us. So, we have probably 4 or 5 guys from our time and staff that will be with us in the fall. But we both of us sort of get calls every day for people who want to be a part of this and want to be on the ground floor or something that could be good. So anyone who we don't cap out our coaches at 5 or 6. If we have 15 guys, if they're all good guys who can contribute something, then we're open to listening for anyone.
Coach, can you technically grab a kid from anywhere in Western New York? Like, can a Kenmore kid or a West Seneca kid or Amherst kid apply to get into Maritime Charter?
Yes, so we can take anyone, but as far as if a kid's at Orchard Park, if kid's at Kenmore, if he already started his high school there, he can't. He'll have to sit out a year. So
okay.
It's case by case, but there's rules that it has to be a district. So we have to follow the section rules, even though we accept kids from other districts. But if the kid's not from our district and comes to our school, he'll have to sit out most likely.
Coach, you just got the AD job at Maritime a few months ago, and now you're already planning on starting a football program next year. Are you worried that it's rushed? Why did you decide to start next year rather than let this thing work itself out and do 2019? Maybe you'll be a little more ready for it.
That's a good point. I mean, if we did push off to 2019, we would have a year of building that culture that you talked about in the last question. But I think we'll be all right this year. And if we're not, again, I have no problem with losing. And not that that came out wrong, but again, if we have to play better teams and get beat and sort of have a trial by fire a little bit, I'm fine with that. I don't believe. I don't know. I just, if we only had JV, there'd be kids at the school who didn't get an opportunity. I already have seniors complaining to me here saying we were here 4 years and never had football. So, I don't mind going and playing good teams, and teams that are better than us, teams that have been around, teams that just have the operations down. And if we lose a little bit or take some lumps the first year, that's okay. But we will eventually we'll get this on track and we'll win, and we'll do well and be successful.
Did you watch a lot of high school football the past fall, and is that part of the motivating factor into getting this team ready now?
I watched all my guys. I mean, I went to a couple South Park games. I went to a couple West games, a couple Burgard games, Canisius game. So I watched my guys. I guess, I don't know. That was, honestly, it was probably harder going to watch the games than it was getting me excited to, get something going. It was just tough. Again, it was bittersweet watching guys, especially the championship game in A. It was just tough watching. I couldn't cheer. I had 2 guys on West, 4 guys on South Park, and I didn't want anyone to lose. It was tough to watch. I mean, it was just those guys. We were around them so much, and up until June 24th, those guys were busting their butts for me and working in the weight room and doing everything they need to do, and then sort of to have this wrench thrown at them, and it was a tough fall. So I don't think that had anything to do with sort of putting this product out for next year, but just what Ty and I think we can do. I think that it's exciting.
Now, in addition to football and starting this fall at Maritime, there's other sports at Maritime as well. Do you have any other? I mean, you have a basketball team, you have a baseball team. Are there any other team sports that you're looking at to put in place, to put a program together at Maritime in addition to football?
Yeah, we're doing girls JV soccer next year. I know that's not it's not a huge, as far as in Western New York, it's not going to come on too many people's radars, but it's big for us because girls sports are hard at inner city schools to develop, and we've tried basketball last year. Obviously I wasn't there, but they said it was tough, and a couple of the other charter schools try basketball and they say it's tough. So we're trying to get into some stuff that for girls. I mean, that's a big market for us to try to give the girls something. And we started cheerleading this year, and that was good. I mean, it gave 25 girls something to do in the winter and an activity for them. I mean, they can run track, which we don't have a great turnout for, but I think the girls' sports are big. Getting something in there. It would be nice to get JV soccer in there. As far as the boys, we have boys soccer, we have basketball, we have baseball, we have track, and then we'll have football. So we'll have a decent slate. I don't know what's next there, but probably a JV football team and some other stuff there. But we're trying to build up something. We're facing a lot of the problems the other charter schools are with participation and fielding full teams. So it's definitely an uphill battle with some sports.
Well, Coach, we definitely it's been our pleasure having you. I know we've been trying to get in touch with you to set something up like this, so I'm glad we had the opportunity today. And for Francis, I know we are absolutely rooting for you guys to put it all together and have fun with it and all that sort of thing. And we're glad to see that Maritime is officially on the map with football. And we're looking forward to covering your school and the different sports that you offer. And we'll go from there. But we want to thank you for your time, and you have our number. Reach out to us if you ever need us out there. We'll be happy to send someone down to report on a story or a new subject or whatever. And you know where to find us. Do you guys have a Twitter handle at Maritime for your sports?
We do. I have a Maritime Athletics.
Okay.
I don't know what it is right now. It's Maritime Athletics, so.
Okay. All right,
but,
cool.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on, and some of the stuff you're doing is cool. I watch that. I follow West all the time because obviously Des Rando was with me last year, and I work with him every day here, so he works over here. And so what you guys did the other night with that press conference after the game with the West kids was pretty cool. So
we had a little problem with the microphone, but we're working the kinks out on that. I got a
innovative and.
Yeah, well, it's something that these kids, some of them are going to be in that setting before they know it. So if they can kind of see what goes into it and that sort of thing, gives it a little bit more experience, they won't be so nervous. And, we get to see another side of those kids that many other people don't get to see. I was going to go see them at Will North yesterday. I got a tweet.
It's a good one.
I know. They were down heading into the fourth quarter by a bunch, at least a dozen maybe.
Yeah.
And I'm
yeah,
like,
down 15 at halftime. So.
I just couldn't get over it. I got a 3-year-old and he wouldn't go to bed. So I'm like, come on, go to bed. I got to go over this game. But anyways, they pulled it out. Justin sealed the deal.
Yeah, great kid, and Dev's doing a great job over there. So.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you very much for your time, and we'll be looking for you before you know it.
All right, I appreciate it, guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye. That was Coach Charlie Comerford, the athletic director at Maritime Charter, and they are fielding a football team this fall, and we look forward to seeing what they. We're looking forward to seeing how they do, right, Francis? Yep. More than anything. For Frank Wolf and Francis Beck, that was our segment with Charlie Comerford.
That's our show for today, for this week. Very packed show. I hope you guys enjoyed it all. I know we did, the two of us. We enjoy giving all these kids coverage. They certainly deserve it. We'll be back in the coming weeks doing shows. We're going to be out in a few games in the coming weeks. As playoffs roll around for girls hockey, we'll be on site in some locations, so watch for that. This is Francis Beck. That's Frank Wolf. And this is the WNYathletics.com High School Weekly Roundup.